How did you get involved in politics?
Well, I had no interest in politics other than, and I wasn't born into it, and I had no involvement in it whatsoever. But I used to have a lot of the old IRA fellas visiting the pub at the time, and they had a Fianna Fáil coming at the time, and they were getting very elderly, and Paddy Kilroy was very much involved in it, and I was very friendly. He was very helpful to us, Padder. When we were young, we used to have pellet guns, and we used to do a lot of shooting, and Padder would fix them for us. He was a great man to, as a young fella, to go to ask him to do something for you, he'd do it. He was very helpful and highly qualified at fixing things. So, I don't know, some of the old guys, Johnny Conley, the Lord of Mercy on him, and Willie Salmon, and a few of them fellas asked me would I attend a meeting, and I had written actually a piece that I still have. I found it in the pub in Georgia Street, and it was called The Forgotten Inhabitants, because that time when I was a young fella, the sewerage system used to run down into the main drain down in Georgia Street, and the place would be littered alive with rats, rodents. Oh, it was just unbelievable. So there was nothing happening and nothing happened. So I was involved in community council and got involved that way. And it was basically with the self-interest to try and do something to help, to improve things.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And that was my involvement in politics. And
why did you pick Fianna Fáil?
Well, it was.
Could you have gone anyway?
I could have gone anyway. Yeah, it was the first that was introduced to me, and I got friendly with people, and they asked me would I go forward, and I went forward because they hadn't anybody at the time, and that was basically it.
So you got elected to the county council?
Got the first time I wasn't elected. I was very close to it.
Yeah.
The Lord of Mercy and the late Only Hughes passed me out, and good luck to him. The Lord of Mercy.
What year was that? Can you remember?
Oh, I can't tell you. Sorry, just put that out. But anyway. Got elected the second time and maintained the seat ever after.
Did you enjoy it?
Enjoyed it, yeah, enjoyed it. For a lot of my years, I did, yeah. I had a great involvement in it from the point of view that I gave it a fair bit of thought. And I was one of the first people that, and I have to give him credit where credit is due, first people that was ever involved in the setting up of the National Park was the late Charlie Haughey. And he was the first one that ordered the commissioners to look at that.
And how did the national park come about?
It came about, it was a concept of my own, and it started in Letterkenny, Letterkenny Forest. It was to be in Letterkenny, the main centre was, but in the process of the political thrust of things and trying to bring the tourism factor further north, Ballycroy was picked as the spot, and I was delighted with that, because that was the place where most of the land that's involved in it was centred.
How big is it?
There's something in the order of, I'd say, about 15,000 hectares, and it's getting bigger.
And is it owned by the state?
It's owned by the state.
The land is owned by the state?
The land is owned by the state. And
is there any grazing on it or anything?
There's grazing agreements with the farmers, which is tied into their payments and everything else, and it's on a managed basis. And in fairness, the farmers are making a huge contribution to it too. But in the long term, it will be to their benefit and to everybody else's benefit.
Well, all these things do benefit local communities, don't they? Like the Greenway.
Exactly. They benefit the whole thing. It's to tie it in ecologically right. There were problems in that area with water quality. Water schemes were affected and everything, so there was a need to have a sort of land policy there to manage it properly. And certainly the national parks and the farmers are doing that very well.
So then you went for, as a TD, did you run for election as a TD?
I went for the Shannon, and I didn't make it. And I went for the Dáil, and I didn't make it. And I was very unfortunate in one election where I had a very serious car crash. And I do believe that denied me that opportunity. But out of that, Enda Kenny would not be leader of Fine Gael today, or only for I had that accident, because in actual fact, and he publicly has said this in Castlebar quite recently, that it was just one demise of one person was to the benefit of himself. Jim Higgins would have beaten him to it. And it's just the luck of the draw, and the best of luck to him is Taoiseach. He's making a fair fist of it, and it's a difficult task.
He has a tough job ahead.
He has a tough job ahead, and good luck to him. He's making it. It's a great honour for the county, I have to say that. It's a great honour to see him as Taoiseach.
So you sat in the Senate?
I sat in the Senate and enjoyed it, and I was very much involved in sort of the interest in the seaweed industry. I was very much involved in the agricultural side of things, and I was actually looking up YouTube recently on Aramara Chornta, which was the old company, which was a director of appointed by Haughey for a period of some years. I went very close to getting a factory built, which I regret dismally that Fianna Fáil didn't build in Mayo, a seaweed factory. It was ready, it was planning, everything was got, money was provided for it, but there was a big dispute about private enterprise and people that was in the business before, and that destroyed the chance of building that new factory. Mayo is without it, and it's Mayo's loss, and it's a pity. But I did my best to put it there, to try and fill that gap that I do believe the natural resources have a very important part to play for the people, particularly in rural Ireland.
What's it like being in the Senate?
It's claustrophobic, let's put it that way. I was trying to work a constituency single-handed with Mary, the girl in my office, and Phil and the family and supporters, and we were trying to carve out a seat out of the Senate for the Dáil. There's no point in saying anything else. We gave it 100%, and we worked hard at it and worked hard for the people of the county. And it's very pressurising if you're trying to run that type of campaign. Now, I wasn't running strictly for the Senate. I was trying to make a Dáil seat out of it because there was a seat last year in Mayo. But I gave it my best, and I certainly served the people of the county to the best of my ability.
Do you feel stifled by party when you're in a party situation, that you can't do your own thing? You have to go. You might want to do one thing and they want to do another thing. How do you deal with that?
Well, it can be difficult sometimes. It's a bit like any organisation that you're in. You might have to concede a little bit. I remember the debate within Fianna Fáil when we were trying to get special status for the West, and particularly for the rural and peripheral areas. And most of the European payments were coming to these areas. Southeast people were looking for it, the politicians, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael were looking for it. Jackie Healy-Rae was roaring for it below in Kerry.
I think parts of Dublin were looking for it.
The parts of Dublin were looking for it. And I remember a serious battle above at Fianna Fáil, and it went on until 2 o'clock one night, and it started again at 6 the following morning. And we did get the special status for the West. And I did play my part in that under Bertie Ahern. And a big battle it was, myself and Tom Moffat, a former politician of Balna, but we fought the case for it, and we certainly got it within the party. But you do have these battles, and every political party will have those things. But what I was going to say, I did enjoy it, and I found that it is very important, and it is very important for people that they have people there that will look at the overall picture and certainly try and bring things that are necessary for the future of the people in their best interest.
Do you think the Senate has a future?
Look at, if you want to talk in sheer economic terms, I don't.
Do they do much?
It certainly it certainly is a good platform. Let's face it, you do have the opportunity. I'll give you one example. I remember one time there was for instance, you take it, the disabled persons grant. I remember bringing the minister into that, where people would have children with special needs, to get that legal thing so that people could use that in different ways for the benefit of children with special needs, such as wheelchairs, tar macadam areas around houses. I remember getting the first of those issues passed by the minister and him to agree it when he was putting through a specific bill, and only for it was in the Senate at the time that wouldn't have happened, and that has certainly changed the way that public money can be spent to the benefit of people with special needs, particularly parents with children that need certain recreational areas for their children that have specific needs.
Will you support its abolition?
Let's face it, in the present economic times, I believe there's time to restructure the country, and I do believe that there's a need for great change, and there's colossal wastage. I've only listened recently talking to professional people who were actually some of them in the educational service and some of them in the health service, and they just do not understand how this country operates. There's so much wastage.
Nobody does.
Bad spending. Yeah.
Do you think there's too many TDs?
Certainly there's need for reduction. Certainly.
Would you have a plan?
Pardon?
How would you do it if you were to do it yourself?
If I was to do it myself, I would certainly do it on a reduced or an increased level of population per TD, and I certainly would restructure it. And I think Kenny has given it a touch, but it needs a bit more.